Okay, this is, I think, the fourth time I'm trying to record this video. The first time I had a phone call, so my phone was on vibrate and it fell, and then I took the call. Second time I got a text in the middle, so it stopped my recording again, and the third time I just got confused. I got so confused, like, did I already talk about this or not? Because I've talked a lot in the last 15 minutes. First thing first, I want to do a little intro, and my intro is going to be played on a ukulele. I got a ukulele last week and changed my life. No, it's just so much fun. So I'm just totally gonna rip off Adventure Time, and you're gonna have to deal with it. That was my political intro. No, but seriously, I'm really looking forward to doing more stuff with the ukulele. It's super fun. I mean, it's just so out of the blue. I mean, I've thought about getting one for like half a year, and then the other week I just went into a music store and bought a ukulele. Then I was like, hey, guess what? Guess what? What? I got a ukulele! And like, people, the reactions have been hilarious. I mean, it is just too much fun. But back to serious stuff. Politics. So like I said, I kind of want to do something about politics because it's election day! Tomorrow it is. I'm gonna vote. I'm gonna vote the hell out of my vote. And the thing about elections in Israel is this. It's not like in America where you have your Republicans and your Democrats and just like two candidates and you are either here or here. And if you're in the middle somewhere, well, pick the more important issues. Here we do have a political left and a political right, but there are a lot of smaller parties, and there are, you know, the difference between parties is usually priorities or certain stands on certain issues. Like, there's a big difference between the left and the right, but within each side you also have like usually one big party and a few smaller ones that think a little differently on certain things. So, disclaimer, full disclosure, I am a lefty. I've always been a lefty. I've been voting ever since I could vote. I think it's a civic duty that we must fulfill, especially since I'm so unhappy with the state of politics here right now, and the state of, you know, just things suck politically for us. So I think it's really critical that we all go and vote. I mean, it's not just like support my candidate, it's just like go and vote so we can generate some sort of change in the way our government is acting right now, so we can maybe change things for the better. And over here, when you vote, like I said, it's not just, you don't vote for a candidate, you vote for a party, and whoever is the head of that party, if they have the most votes and they are able to create a coalition with all the smaller parties, because whoever gets the most votes, it's like, it could be like 30% or 20%, it's not gonna be like, oh, they won 75% of the votes, so they are in control now. They always need to co-ally with other smaller parties. So, it's a complicated business. So my candidate is well, I'll talk more about her in a bit. Wait, first we need to get the electoral process thing settled, right? Like I said, you vote for a party. Party with the most votes gets a chance at assembling a government, and if they do, then the head of that party is the prime minister. That's how Bibi Netanyahu got to be prime minister in recent elections. I mean, he actually didn't get the most votes, but the party that did was just unable to reach an agreement with the smaller parties and make a coalition, which I think was a huge miss, because I voted for that party. It's like, you won but you didn't win. It sucks, but that's the way we do things around here. And there's also a president, but that's really more of a formal role. It doesn't have much to do with politics. So it's pretty much the prime minister, and I think that, unlike in Europe, when things are a little bit, well, I don't know to speak for all the countries, but sometimes in Europe the difference between your political right and your political left is pretty much if you like honey in your tea or if you like milk in your tea. But over here, people take politics like, well, there is a lot to be concerned about. so people are very political, very opinionated, and it's there's a huge difference when the political right is in the driver's seat and the political left is in the driver's seat. And I think that the left has a tendency kind of to lose, I'm afraid. But we've had some successes as well. Well, that's more history than current state of affairs, so maybe that's for a different video. Oh my god, I've talked for 6 minutes and we've gotten nowhere. Let's see, how do I expedite this? Okay, issues, right? Issues are important. Well, some parties would like you to believe that the biggest issue that we should vote on is, as usual, the national security issue. National security issue, and it's always like the political right in this respect is usually we are not going to get any peace. There's nobody to have negotiations with. We should defend ourselves. We should not be giving back land. We should not be making any sacrifices. And that's that. That's your political right. And it's a very, there's something very, nationalistic about it. Also, the political right is usually identified, well, no, let's leave that for a different issue. Let's just talk national security right now. Political left usually says, hey, there is a partner on the other side. We can find ways to coexist. We can reach agreements. We all need to make sacrifices. And we believe in peace. Let's make that work. And for some reason, that's not a very popular opinion in certain areas of Israel. Well, conflict, hate, persecution, it's complicated. But let's simplify it. Political right is like, no to the other side, we don't trust them. And political left is, come on, peace. Right. So I'm all for peace. I mean, I know that it's not a popular opinion here because people are like, what, this is our land and our home and yada yada and wars and battles and stuff. And I'm like, dude, let's just all get along. Like, come on, all this hate is getting us nowhere. They're killing us, we're killing them. It's not good. But yeah, it's a lot more complicated than that. Well, the national security and peace issue is what is usually the most important issue. But for this election, and I truly believe this, and this is part of why I am voting for the party I'm voting for, is more about the state of the economy and our social situation right now. Last summer there was a lot of uproar here in Israel. We had some civil protests about how expensive it is to live here and how taxes keep on going up and how it's really become completely impossible to sustain a life here. Like, I can't afford to buy an apartment. I can afford to rent, sort of. I mean, I have savings which I use for my rent because I'm a student right now. I do get help from my parents financially. I kind of work part-time. I work for a family business, but a lot of my friends that are also students in the same situation, they work part-time for people who aren't family and make their wage that way. But I have an opportunity to work for my family business, so that's good. Anyway, so the whole economy situation when it comes to your left wing and your right wing is more capitalist. And I think competition is healthy, but the changes that have been made here in recent years under the control of the right wing have been such that decrease the budget of health services, decrease the budgets of education, and services that I think are important. Political left is socialist or social democratic, let's call it that. That's how they identify. And basically they're saying, look, we need to make a change. If we don't make it easier for the middle class, then this country is going to collapse. If we don't reduce taxes for the middle class, because they've been raised and raised and raised, this country is going to collapse. We're not going to have any good health services. We're not going to have good education. And for things to improve here, first you got to take care of these rights of people. And the thing about the right party, again, when it comes to economy and free market and capitalism, they've made some changes that make it a lot easier for corporations. They make it a lot easier for the 1% or the 10%. Somehow the people with the most money are paying the least. The relative taxes they pay for how much they are able to make is ridiculous, and some of these companies are actually making their money using the country's natural resources, like gas that was recently discovered here that is being mined. And so I'm saying, you know what, forget the whole war peace situation, because that's always going to be an issue, or at least it's not going to be resolved in this election. I don't think so anyway. I can hope, but right now we need to focus on helping people finish the month, live through the day, get some sort of health system reform. I mean, we have a public health system better than in America for sure, but we're going the wrong way with it. We're turning more and more into America in terms of what you can afford in the private sector of health, which is not really accessible to everyone. And what we should be striving to do is be more like Sweden and more like the Netherlands, and just basically take care of our citizens and our elderly and our weaker layers of the population. And so I say vote left. Now, in terms of actual candidates, I see that I've been talking for like 13 minutes, so I'm gonna leave that to either a next video or something that I'll do after we have the results of the elections. Then I'll know who to address, because there is a lot of interesting stuff going on in this election. There's a lot of new parties, new candidates out there. But right now I just gotta say that I'm really excited to vote. I've actually convinced a couple of people to support my candidate. Some people who are like, I don't know who to vote to. And they're like, dude, you have to vote. Like, okay, maybe you don't know who you fully support, and that's fine, but surely you know who you don't want to support. And not voting oftentimes means supporting that person who's already, in the lead, and if you're unhappy with that, then my God, go vote. Like, even if you really can't identify with any party, you should go vote and put a white ballot in, which means white ballots are like basically saying I vote for no one, but it's still not the same as not actually going to vote, because white ballots are counted to calculate something that has to do with the blocking percentage, which determines if a small party is actually, you know, if they are eligible to be part of the government that the winning party later on makes. I think I explained that correctly-ish. So even if you don't know who to vote to over here, you should go put a white ballot in, or better yet, find a candidate. You know, it doesn't have to be the ideal candidate, but just find someone who you kind of agree with, or agree with well enough to support, because it's important. Oh, and I think that, like, one of the other issues that, I mean, I talked about national security, and I talked about the economy and social welfare issues, but I didn't talk about religious issues, which is also a bit of a yeah, it's a thing. I identify as Jewish, but I'm not a religious person in any way or form. I don't follow the rules of my religion much at all. And Israel is a democracy, but there is no real separation between state and religion. It's a hot topic again. Like, some stuff is there's a status quo of things here, and a lot of the parties, there are actually some parties usually related to the political right wing that represent, I mean, they run, in their campaign is about preserving tradition, religion, and there's a demographic for that, and it's an important demographic. And historically, those parties usually tend to co-work with the political right and not with the political left, which is a disadvantage for the left parties. But we try. Oh my god, 17 minutes. I need to hurry it up. So where I stand in terms of religion is, religion and politics should be separate, or as separate as they can be. But unfortunately, they're not gonna be, not anytime soon anyway. And it comes down to money eventually, again, because these religious sectors, they want to be taken into account when it comes to budget for religious schools and things like that, and they actually hold a lot of power, even though they're smaller parties. When it's break or make time for a new government and they need to find allies to make a coalition, oftentimes it's the religious parties that kind of swing the way things go. Political left wing says, you know what, let's separate these two. I mean, sure, we're willing to take into consideration certain things, and it's not going to be like, you know, clear cut straight away, but it's going to be healthier for everyone if we don't mix these things together, and if the budget isn't controlled by religious interests. And that is not something that too many people, I mean, some people are not going to be keen on that. And then, of course, there is a sort of central party-ish, or at least that's something that used to, I mean, in the last two elections, I think, or last elections, there was this central motion that was like, look, we have some disagreements on certain things, but we can create something that works for all sides, something more balanced. And last elections, those are the candidates that won, but they couldn't set up a government. I think I've said that, or maybe I said that in the other 3 takes that I've made of this video. And this party, it's not as prominent like the central party. People have kind of like, we gave this a chance, we voted, you couldn't make a government. It was really sad. It was borderline tragic, if you ask me. So we're gonna go back to our left and our right. And it's kind of funny also because a lot of the parties are like, we're central left and we're central right. We're not extremists. This is like a central area. It's not. Kind of is. I don't know. Too many similarities. Well, there's a bunch of other bigger and smaller issues. And maybe tomorrow I will make a video about my candidate and why I believe in her. It's a she. Pretty cool, because Israel hasn't had a female prime minister since Golda Meir, and that was ages ago. And you can kind of say, oh, that's cool because it's really progressive that we had a woman as our prime minister. I think it was well ahead of most countries, or at least European countries. I mean, I know that America hasn't had a female president, elected female president. I think there was one female president who was president while her husband was demented or something. Doesn't count. So we had an elected woman as president, but the thing that allowed this was not so much gender politics. It was just a different time here, and we were a lot more naive as a country in the sense that equal rights in certain things seemed obvious. I'm sad to say that sort of changed somewhere along the line, but at least in politics there was a different mindset over here that allowed for this to happen and for it not to be a huge deal. Sadly, right now it's been male candidate after male candidate after male candidate in political power. I gotta say though that in the left wing right now, the three most, I think, well, I don't know if it's three most, but most of the candidates being and parties being most of the parties that are being talked about, or the bigger ones are led by women, which I think is awesome. My candidate is a woman. There's another candidate that I kind of support, or at least I think that she makes for a better vote than other candidates. She's a woman. And there's a third one that has a smaller party, but it's a party with a lot of history. I voted for it in the past and stuff. So, and in the political right, there are prominent female politicians, but none of them are heading a party, and most of them are kind of disgraceful examples. And this has been 23 minutes of barely touching on very basic Israeli politics, and I will try to maybe do more of this. If anyone says that they like this, not just my awesome ukulele skills, then maybe there will be more politics. Though I have to kind of, disclaimer warning you again about the fact that I'm completely not neutral, and I'm not even I'm not even the most educated person on the subject, clearly, or obviously, or how can I be, because there's so much to cover. But it's somewhere to start, I guess. So before this video goes around and someone else calls me or texts me or something, I will see you next time. Bye bye. Oh, and please leave a comment, because that will help me know if this was interesting at all and stuff, because I think that Israeli politics is probably fascinating, or it should be. You don't live here, so it doesn't affect you, but it's so much more interesting than other countries' politics, at least to me. So again, comment, please, talk to me, and sorry for this video being so long, and goodbye.